These are this afternoon's top stories. Parliamentarians meet in National Assembly and ZIZ provides coverage. Dominica Prime Minister committed to helping residents, and President Obama bans solitary confinement for juveniles. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, January 26th, 2016. I am JD Keynes. We begin with news on the local scene. The Federation's parliamentarians took to National Assembly chambers today, Tuesday, for the first reading of the Income Tax Amendments Bill 2016 and the Licenses on Business and Occupations Amendment Bill 2016. The country's Prime Minister, who also holds responsibility for finance, sought leave to introduce and have read a first time those bills. Meantime, the Fisheries Bill 2015, which had its first reading on November 17th, was set to hear its second reading with the country's Agriculture Minister, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, leading that debate. As has become customary, ZIZ provided live coverage via radio 96.1 FM, local television channel 5, and through its online stream at www.zizonline.com. Meantime, in addition to the reading of 3 bills, today's National Assembly sitting was a platform for the government officials to provide updates to the nation. Here's more. In its first year of assuming office here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Timothy Harris-led government has recorded the most sales since the initiation of Reduced Value Added Tax Day. Speaking during the opening portion of the National Assembly sitting, Prime Minister Harris said while there are figures pending, he can confirm that preliminary figures show that almost $41 million was spent on Reduced VAT Day last year.
The information, therefore, as it is now, indicates 2015 to be the best VAT day of record. And we are happy to report that. Because, Mr. Speaker, it shows that even in cases where there were 2 VAT days, they never amass as well as we have done in a single VAT day.
Dr. Harris also reminded of the total sales for each year since 2011.
In 2011, VAT Day would be recorded as the 22nd of December, and there was a 7% VAT applicable under purchases for that day. And the records reflect $13 million of sales. In 2012, there were 2 VAT days on the 14th and the 20th of December. The reduced VAT applicable then was 5%, and $26 million is the recorded total sales. In 2013, 2 VAT days, and the records would reflect at the reduced VAT rate of 5%, there were total sales at $37 million. In 2014, 2 VAT days, the 12th and the 19th, cumulatively, they yielded $40 million in total sales. And the 2015, 1 VAT day, and it has recorded so far just under $41 million.
Reporting for ZIZ News, I am JD Keynes. The Criminal Justice Strategic Board met recently to begin working on reforming the country's criminal justice system. But before that meeting, Board Chairman the Honorable Vincent Byron sought to set the record straight regarding the board's responsibilities.
The Criminal Justice Strategic Board is not a social development agency. It is dealing with the criminal justice system, and the agencies that are involved have very specific functions that are mandated by the Constitution, by the law. And so we will deal with that, working with each other to try to benefit from each other's work that is done.
Among the board's other members are Superintendent of Prisons Sheila Connor, Commander of the Defense Force Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Wallace, Director of the New Horizons Rehabilitation Center Adele Williams, Assistant Commissioner of Police Ian Quilly, and Deborah Matthew, who is the Director of Probation and Child Protection Services. We'll take a break and be right back.
ZIZ-TV will be starting a brand new program lineup in February, and we want you to help us start off each day with a national prayer. If you have ideas for a national prayer, you can submit them to requests@zizonline.com. Submissions should be no more than 60 seconds long.
Regionally, the government of Dominica intends to improve living conditions, whether socially or economically, for the people of Dominica who will be resettling in Grand Bay. The area was destroyed after Tropical Storm Erica. Here's more.
Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, accompanied by the Ministerial Subcommittee for Resettlement, visited the site on Friday. GIS News spoke with the Dominica leader about the new development.
It is not just about building homes or building houses. It is about creating a community, but also creating a community which is much better than what they had prior to Tropical Storm Erica. So really will be, with this housing development, you will certainly see a dramatic reduction in the poverty levels among the residents of Dominica. Because one of the elements, one of the factors and the variables which is considered when doing a poverty assessment is the issue of housing and access to amenities, water, electricity, telecommunication services. So all of those things would be in here, and every single resident, every single home will have all of those amenities, all of those services, better housing conditions, better living conditions. So certainly we will see a reduction.
Guyana has launched a U.S. $15 million Citizen Security Strengthening Program, or CSSP, to reduce the crime and violence levels over the next 5 years. The U.S. $15 million project is being financed by the Inter-American Development Bank. The Hemispheric Bank says the Guyana government is placing significant resources to address challenges such as rising homicide rates, robbery rates that significantly exceed global averages, and frequent cases of domestic violence. The program will rely on the capacity of the Guyana Prison Services to incorporate and deliver rehabilitation and reintegration services to detainees and inmates. The CSSP will be executed through a project implementation unit within the Ministry of Public Security. Internationally, on Monday, U.S. President Barack Obama announced a ban on solitary confinement for juvenile offenders in the federal prison system. He stated that the practice is overused and has the potential for devastating psychological consequences. We hear more in this report.
President Barack Obama is ordering changes to how federal prisons use solitary confinement. He also announced that Congress is considering similar reforms as part of a broad package on sentencing. The president also banned using solitary confinement for low-level offenses in federal prisons and ordered the Bureau of Prisons to develop alternatives for inmates who are mentally ill and for those who are placed in solitary confinement for their own protection. The president also directed wardens to increase the amount of time prisoners in solitary spend outside their cells.
The occupants of a civil defense SUV scrambled to get out alive after it was violently flipped by massive tsunami-like waves during Storm El Nino. Here's more.
Waves measuring as high as 5 meters or 16 feet battered the coast of Chile over the weekend as powerful El Nino storms wreaked havoc in the South American country. In the coastal resort town of Viña del Mar, the passengers of this civil defense SUV were lucky to escape with their lives after a giant wave knocked the vehicle over and dragged it through the water. Footage aired by Chile's TVN network shows how passers-by ran to the aid of the SUV's occupants and helped them to get out. Elsewhere, Chilean officials were forced to shut oceanfront roads and to fly red flags on beaches to stop people from swimming. The massive waves, which are reportedly the biggest in this region since 2003, damaged cars and toppled street lamps.
France faces major transport disruptions today, Tuesday, as air traffic controllers, taxis and civil servants have gone on strike. Dozens of flights have been cancelled as a result, leaving travelers frantic and disgruntled.
Travel across France got off to a chaotic start on Tuesday, with taxi drivers and air traffic controllers both on strike from early morning. In Marseille, cab drivers staged a go-slow procession through the city centre, causing long traffic jams. They're protesting against what they see as unfair competition from rival services like Uber. They vandalise the professionals who are paying taxes, the professionals who respect the rules. Besides, you have American cowboys who come to do passenger transport and don't pay anything in France. Similar demonstrations by taxi drivers have been held in Paris and other French cities. Meanwhile, 2 unions representing air traffic controllers have called a 24-hour strike to demand higher pay and pensions. In response, France's Civil Aviation Authority has called for airlines to cancel 20% of flights. Elsewhere, French civil servants have also announced demonstrations in several cities on Tuesday over pay.
And now taking a look at the weather. Today will be partly sunny with cloudy periods. There's a chance of brief localized showers. And tonight will be fair to partly cloudy with a slight chance of localized showers. Winds are easterly at 12 to 20 miles per hour over land and increasing to near 23 miles per hour over coastal waters. Seas are moderate to rough with waves reaching 1.8 to 2.4 meters or 6 to 8 feet. A warning is in place for small craft operators and sea bathers. Temperatures will peak to 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunset for today will be at 6:03 p.m., while the sunrise for tomorrow will be at 6:30 a.m. And that brings us to the end of ZIZ's Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. I have been your presenter, JD Keynes. Have a wonderful afternoon.